Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing, and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. Today, Chris and I talked to the wonderful Heather Morris, who is an architect of all people. The reason why we invited Heather on to the podcast is she has created some really beautiful LUX systems that help high-performing women who are feeling burnt out to create more ease and flow in their home environment. So she's taking a lot of the knowledge, the expertise, the experience she has had in the architecture world and actually created really awesome systems to make living life in your home easier. So in this conversation today, we do talk about things like your kitchen setup, the way that your meal planning and prepping, the way that you can get your kids on board to follow through on systems, the way that you can organize your cupboards, the way that you can get started with decluttering, and also some really practical tips around reducing digital clutter and overwhelm as well. So I know that you're going to get lots of awesome little nuggets to help you in your journey. And as Heather and Chris and I talk about, these things in our home can become stressors as well, just in the same way that mold could be a stressor, just in the same way that eating a block of Cadbury chocolate could be a stressor, just in the same way that an argument with a spouse could be a stressor. So again, we're taking a holistic approach to look at your environment today and how you can set up your environment for success and to support your healing and your well-being. Now, a little bit about Heather Morris before we dive in. Heather Morris is an architect and the creator of the LUX Method, a system that helps high-performing women design calmer homes and digital lives that actually support their day-to-day reality. Through her platform, LUX RESET, she teaches practical systems that reduce friction and give women back 3 to 5 hours every week without perfection, productivity hacks, or pressure. All right, let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome everybody to this episode of the Ending Body Burnout Show. Philly and I have a guest on today's show. Welcome Heather to the Ending Body Burnout Show.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Yay. We have never had an architect come on to our show, so it's very exciting. And if the listeners are like, what are we going to be talking about building houses? Well, kind of, because I think you're doing some really interesting stuff in the space of wellness inside the home to support women. And if there's men listening to this as well, I'm sure that the systems will apply to all people. But there is, we're coming out of we're living in a patriarchal system. So there's a lot of invisible load that women hold. So I'm really excited to dive into the systems that you can teach us and our listeners to help them to have a more healthy home to support their own health and prevent burnout.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting crossover actually, Philly, because people don't realize that cognitive overload is massive in this day and age. And a lot of that is to do with our houses and how they're really designed in the 50s for the, as you say, the archetypal married woman doing domestic duties. And it's not really reflective of today's lifestyle. So be fun to dive into some of those concepts.
Yes. Okay. So before we do, we love to get to know you a little bit more personally and just dive into your own body burnout or burnout story, which I assume links into why you do what you now do.
Absolutely. So I've always been ambitious. I started school young. I started uni young. I was only 16, 9 months when I went to uni.
Oh, wow.
Architecture is a 6-year course, so
Can I
it's a
ask
big
how did
impasse.
that happen? Were you able to
Uh,
jump college, or we call it college
no,
in
no.
Tassie?
I was very when I think I was 4 or 3.5 or 4 or something. I really bored at home, and Mum said, "You really need to go to school." She was a school teacher herself, and so she was like, "No, you're starting school." I was a bit too inquisitive, I think, and so yes, I started school early and just was young all the way through. And by the time I hit university, I was 16 and 9 months old, which is interesting because most other people were 18, so there was a bit of a discourse there, but having been ambitious all the way through and a very high, I set my bar very high, and it meant after 6 years of uni, you have to do 2 years of internship too. So it's effectively like being a lawyer or doing the bar. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of training, a lot that you have to go through. And then I worked for about 12 months with a firm in Tasmania. Because we were in the recession we had to have. And then I thought, no, I want to try something else. So I had a job in Brisbane. And then I decided to move back to Sydney, of all places, and set up a firm with the company I was working with in Tasmania originally. So that was that connection, which for a 24-year-old at the time was full of naivety. And I guess
Massive.
if you never give something a go, you don't know how difficult it is or easy. And I was thinking, oh, I'm just going to waltz in and the world's my oyster. And obviously it was a lot harder than that. So I effectively worked 7 days a week for 18 months, starting that
Mm.
business up and getting known. And it was a very male dominated industry back in the day, hardly any female architects, particularly in the commercial sector, which is where I specialize in government. And as a result, I was given directorship, but then that comes with its own price of working 60-hour weeks was a standard week. And that's before you do a minimum of a 2-hour commute. So an hour each way to work and back. And I wasn't even living that far away. So it was probably 20 Ks away. So in the big cities, it's very much you do a day's work before you even get to the office.
Yeah.
And then when we built up the firm so that it was across the Eastern Seaboard and well over 60 staff. We also had engineering companies, planning companies, design and drafting companies. So we had a plethora of things going on, which is all exciting, but is very, very hard work to maintain. And so you end up dealing with staff issues for 8 hours a day. And then when they all go home, that's when you actually get to do your work. So it meant just being on the phone all the time, on tap. And as a result of 15 to 20 odd years of doing that, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure.
Mm.
And that was a really big wake up call for me because hypertension has been in the family. And it was one of those cases where it's lifestyle related, but it's also that trappings of high powered being on all the time. There's never any off time. And I guess the reflection I had was that there's no thank yous for doing 7-day weeks, for working the hours, for doing all that. There was no accolades in that. Yes, we won awards. Yes, we did things, but nobody genuinely was like, gee, I'm glad you worked that weekend and didn't have any time off. So they're the sort of reflections I had. And the big aha moment came for me when we ended up, and in Sydney, it can be trappings of keeping up with the Joneses as well. And my partner and I always wanted to live waterfront. So we ended up with this amazing waterfront home, but there was some mold issues in there, and I have asthma, and that compounded it. So I ended up very unwell. And we moved out of that house into, I call it a McMansion. So Italian builders, 21 old arches and a huge marble staircase in the middle, which looked like Gone with the Wind. And one day I was sitting there hand polishing the marble staircase because that's what Nuna did. And that was where I had my big aha moment of, well, we're living in the wrong era. We're not designed to be sitting there hand polishing marble staircases
Wow.
and working 60-hour weeks and having a career and potentially wanting to have children and do all the things. And then your body at the same time going, haha, time to have a little downtime. And so from that point on, I totally redesigned my life. And that was a big reset moment where I worked out what I wanted to do. And now, as a result, I live 6 months of the year in Penguin in Tasmania, which is gorgeous, and 6 months of the year in Yamba, northern New South Wales, just south of Byron Bay. So I effectively chase the warmth all year round.
Yes.
So, and it's It is a lifestyle by design, and it's a lot less stress. And I've managed to still do work in architecture. It's a different form of work. It's more high level report writing and compliance, but it allows me to work from anywhere. And effectively, my laptop and phone is now my office. And my health is way better. So I guess that gives you a bit of background as to where my burnout story started and how the things I did to change.
Yeah. So, so the things that you do or that you teach other women and coach them through in terms of creating I'll just use the word healthier home, because health isn't necessarily like toxin free or like, there's no mold in the home. It's also set up for supporting them to succeeding their health and other areas in their life. It's so interesting that you're talking about the marble staircase. I personally do not like cleaning. We've got our cleaner here at the moment. Thank you, Catherine. I love you. But I'm like, far out. There's no way that I would have been shining a marble staircase. But can you talk into that? So why, where you
why is that
see
such
where
an
you
old?
see that, why that pattern is still there, that might have worked back in the 1950s for a woman who was the prime home carer and child carer, and why that's not translating into modern life now.
Yeah, so there's quite a few things to unpack with that, but effectively, a home is a living, breathing thing, much like a body is, and people don't realize that. So there's air that comes in and out, sunshine that comes in and out. So I see physical buildings very much like a human body, and an unhealthy building is like an unhealthy body. So mold is a really obvious one, poor air changes, poor light, but there's also components that it's built out of, and marble is the most stunning, beautiful material to work with. However, it is highly fragile. Anyone that's had a marble, any sort of marble benchtop knows that wine glasses and marble do not match. It stains very easily, and it needs the highest level of care. So it's extremely high maintenance. So that's why the only way to properly clean it, you can't use any sort of chemicals or anything, because it will stain and mark. Hence why red wine on a marble benchtop will leave a permanent mark. So the necessity to keep that clean and treat it with the respect it deserved and maintain it is to literally hand polish it with just like a gentle soap, which is why I was doing that. But the reflection was that the house was designed and it was just over the top. It was, I think, 6 or 8 bedrooms, three full-size bathrooms, a spare toilet, and a kitchen the size that Nuna used to make huge Italian cook-ups in. And that was very much designed for the life of the 50s housewife, where everything was around maintenance, and just the maintenance on something that size is phenomenal. So what happens is, by the time you finish cleaning the 3rd bathroom, you're back to the first one. And I think what happens in this day and age too, and it's nice, I mean, you say you don't like cleaning and you've got a cleaner, that's fantastic. Not necessarily everybody can do that, but the problem is that the types of things that we have in our houses is not supporting what we do now. So what I talk a lot about, in an ideal design world, we're looking for flow. So flow through a building. And when it flows easily, you've often been into a big commercial area, an art gallery, or somewhere that just feels amazing. And it's usually because the flow is right. You're going from A to B with minimal resistance. And the resistance is friction. So in a domestic environment, friction is about all the little things that stand in our way. So for example, every time you have to go to the washing machine or the bathroom, if you've got to walk around a table or walk around something, that's friction. That's something in the way. It's also if we're coming into our home and there's all stuff in the way, like that's where the bags get dropped. That's where the wet coats or the umbrellas and things get dropped. That's a level of friction, and that's clutter. And that is where it really affects us. It gives us cognitive overload, because every time we walk past that, it's a minor stressor, and that's constantly pinging. So you might think that it's not affecting you, but it is all the time. So every time you see something that needs to be done, that switches the brain on. It's very, very similar from a medical perspective to having a phone ding, like a notification, the dopamine goes off, that sort of thing. So it's very much a case that if our environment isn't streamlined and flowing, then there is this inherent friction that causes overload. It's like white noise. It sits in the background and is a constant stressor. So I don't know if that helps understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like when we talk about stress can come from anywhere, including, I don't know, like something that our 10-year-old does is she has this habit at the moment where she'll take her socks off and they just like get flung anywhere in the house. It's like two little socks always on the ground. Um, but so you could have, yeah, so definitely. So if we're thinking about clutter, something else, just as you're chatting about, like Chris doesn't like our kitchen setup because if we're all in the kitchen, it's like bumping into each other, or like, you know, you try and open a drawer and it's like if someone else is opening up the drawer from the other side, it's like.
I'm 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan, and my arms hit everything. If I was to take a jacket off in our kitchen, there goes a light bulb. If I try and get through somewhere that, there's something will end up on the floor. It's
and something
next
that
house we're going to have like a 3 meter, no sink in the kitchen counter island. That is just like a huge industrial Chris size table bench. Oh, it's gonna be big.
And sometimes you don't know until you've lived into that environment. But the reason why I was just like reflecting that back is that could be stressful for someone in the same way that I don't know, like eating a whole block of chocolate is stressful to the body, because our stress response is the same regardless of what type of stress it is. So from a holistic approach, when we talk to our clients and we're like working on healing the physical body and the metaphysical parts of them, it's like, what is stressful? And you know what? Clutter comes up as like a massive one. Clutter in your home.
And I did start, my first port of call when I was thinking, how could I be really helpful to a lot of people, was decluttering. And part of the, so I have a course called the LUX Reset, LUX Home Reset. And the first two things are mindset, and they're foundational principles. And the very first one, and why it was LUX, was because that's my methodology of how I teach people. So it's so simple. It's L is for love it, U is for use it, and X is for exit. So if you don't love and use something, then it doesn't need to be in your space. And what's happened with being a sort of society that is over consuming all the time and buying all the time with all the specials is we end up bringing all of this stuff into our house, but never letting it go or getting rid of it. So decluttering to me is not necessarily about minimalism or getting rid of everything. It's about using what works for you in your current lifestyle. So the very good example is people that move house. So I see this a lot. They'll move house, they put everything in boxes. 6 years later, there's probably a garage half full of boxes of stuff that they either haven't touched or they don't know what's there. It's clearly meaningless. Or it's, the other thing you get a lot is memorabilia. So my hubby's an professional athlete. The memorabilia we have is beyond what is normal for anybody, but that's his thing. So I deal with that in my own way. But
it's a negotiation.
If you have had a parent or someone that passed away and leaves memorabilia, you're not valuing the memory of the person by having it in a box. What I suggest is pick some hero pieces, pick some things that you really love and display those and use those. But similarly with it can be as simple as all your kitchen gadgets. You've probably got drawers full of gadgets that you bought that you thought were a good idea at the time, like the old avocado slicer or the banana holder or something. And they're taking up space. And space is so important because it's real estate, and space and real estate are very, very expensive. And it's not just cost, it's time cost. And this is my big thing, is that I want to get women and people in their homes time back, because the less friction we have, the more time we have. So if you're not having to, as you say, bump into each other 10 times a day just getting breakfast, that's going to make life a lot easier. So one thing I do suggest is what I call a breakfast station. So depending on who has what particular breakfast, you actually set up a station with everything that you're going to use for breakfast that stays there. So it might be tea, coffee, and that sort of thing. It might be cereal if you're a cereal-based person, or it might be smoothies if that's your go. But that's one thing that is going to help you get out the door quicker if you're not working from home, because that is a huge friction point, is getting up, getting ready, and getting out the door in the morning. And it's all the things of the bumping into each other 10 times a day that heightens your stress levels before you even start the day.
Yeah.
So maybe you can implement one of those in your house.
Yeah. And so with the station, do you mean you pull everything out and put it on the bench and everyone gets their breakfast? Or is this like a physical thing that's sitting on the bench or inside a cupboard that you kind of pull out and plonk down?
Yeah, it really depends on what you want. So I use a tray that's got all of our tea, coffee making, all the things that, so we get up very early. We 5 o'clock rises to get to swim training, etc. So the first thing that hubby needs is tea and coffee and all that sort of stuff. So that's all contained in a tray that sits permanently on the bench, because that's always there, and you can half asleep, you can reach for all that sort of stuff. And then adjacent to that is all the things that we would use typically for breakfast. It's not on the bench, it's below the bench, but it's right there where you access it. So the idea of not having to travel distance, because distance also takes time and energy. So McDonald's are very, very clever at designing all of their stations, so their cooking stations, everything, so that one person does one job in one position. So it's a maximum efficiency, and they have spent years and years and years testing that efficiency so that they can not necessarily make the best burgers, they're probably horrible, but they can make them consistently. Fast. And they can do it in very fast time. It's actually a fascinating study on how much work they did to increase efficiency, because if there's a wait time or a delay time, that reduces the amount of things that product they can sell. But in our home, it's the same thing. We've only got so many hours in the day. So if we spend it looking for where the scissors are, that's a stressor too.
Yeah, I think that this is helpful because something like a block that some of our clients have is breakfast. It's kind of like I don't have the things that I hear, and I think it would be useful to like hear if you have systems around these would be like I don't have time. So I think what you just suggested there is a time saver. But it's so interesting because then a lot of, and mums especially will say, oh, but it's like I'll make the kids breakfast and, I'll do up their lunch, but I don't have time to do my breakfast and my lunch. And so then they're skipping meals. Or, just grabbing something like convenience, little snack that's actually not nourishing or fueling their body. They're probably like the two big ones, I think, from a space and time perspective. Sometimes people just don't have an appetite, and that's more a physical thing that we're working on.
Yeah. So just another add-on to that. So part of the course I talk about a curated wardrobe. So getting up in the morning, if you've got to make a decision about what you've got to wear, that for some women can take 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on what they're doing, if they've got to go to work themselves. So a curated wardrobe is all about having things that mix and match together, that fit, that look good. So you're not having to make those micro decisions, because it's the hundreds and thousands of micro decisions we're making before 9 a.m. that's slowing us down. And one tip I have for that is try and put your clothes out the night before, or have them hanging in a spot the night before. So the first thing you do if you're getting up and getting dressed, that saves you 15, 20 minutes of indecision or micro decisions about what goes with what's the weather today, what am I going to feel like. That gets them to the kitchen 15 minutes faster. And then if everything that they're using, so I agree, like their kids' meals could be quite different to what their meals are, but should they be? If they can standardize that so that everybody's eating the same thing or similar things, then that is a very, very good way to be more efficient. So in our family, we always eat the same thing. There might be variations slightly in dinner time, but we're all eating the same breakfast, which makes it a whole lot easier to get done quickly as well. And we have a little system or process for doing that. So that might help some of your clients as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, meal prepping is pretty common to talk about, so that's useful. When you were talking about the wardrobe, I'm like, oh, I kind of like clothes prep what I'm wearing as well. I don't know where I got this number from, but I'll usually wear an outfit 3 times before I wash it. Now, some people might gasp in horror. It's like, oh, you got to wash that every day. But I'm like, there's no stains on it. It doesn't smell. I'm going to wear that 3 days straight, and then I'm going to choose my next outfit. So one, it like saves on washing, but also I think it really helps in the morning because I'm like, I know what I'm going to wear because I already decided what I was wearing yesterday and I'm just going to repeat it again.
Yeah, that's
I don't
exactly
know if
right.
you do that or if anyone else does that. And I don't know why it's 3. It's just 3 3 times.
Yeah, I don't know whether that number's typical or not. I wouldn't have thought so, but I know if people are going to work, either if they don't have a uniform, there's always that decision about what's the appropriate thing that I have to wear, because if they might wake up and put casual clothes on, but then they've got to get redressed to go to work. So if we can eliminate one of those stages of having to get redressed all the time, again, that's a big thing. So sometimes if you can think of your wardrobe a bit like setting up uniforms, but not uniforms as in uniform as in things, clothes that will fit and feel good, because most people use 20% of their wardrobe, if that. So the rest is all taking up space, and mostly it's aspirational stuff as well. So the skinny jeans and the I had this in high school and all the rest of it is all sitting there taking up valuable real estate, when if we can clear some of that out, we know that whatever we grab is going to fit. It actually doesn't matter if you wear the same thing you wore yesterday or something that's right next to it. At least you know it's going to fit perfectly and you haven't got any of those decision issues. Because as I said, these micro decisions it's like the clutter, it's a build up, and the more micro decisions we have to make, the more fatigued we are. So if you think in the course of a day, we really want the brain to be making decisions about the really important stuff. But at the moment, for most people, it's all the little things that they're having to get through before they get to the big decisions. So often the big decisions get pushed out, which is why so many people wake up 5 years later and go, oh, what just happened? Where's those 5 years gone?
Yeah. So for those people who struggle with stuff, like whether it's too many clothes or just mess, clutter around the house, they're like, next week I'll spring clean. Next week I'll spring clean. Like I liked your, what is it? Love it. If you love it,
Lux.
if you don't love it,
use it,
if you
exit.
don't use it, exit it.
Yep.
So that's like a nice frame. But do you have any tips in terms of people actually starting to declutter when their brain and body is already feeling very overwhelmed? Because, sometimes it's like every room in the house and it's like,
absolutely.
And which leads to collapse and shutdown.
Yeah, don't take it all on once. But where my philosophy is totally different to just about everybody else, I believe do something, design a system, do it once, and then it's fixed. Like do it in small bits. So don't take on your whole wardrobe all at once. So carve out, and the other thing is we just don't have time these days to carve out a whole weekend to totally redo our whole house, because we've got kids sport and we've got all the competing things. So the idea is that we do it in micro steps. So 5-minute bursts is what I recommend, and you can do a hell of a lot in 5-minute bursts. And the beautiful thing about the LUX methodology is it gets rid of a lot of the other peripheral things. And if we take too long to make decisions, we end up with indecision. So if we love something, if we truly love it and we use it, so they can be independent. You can love something that you don't use that often, but it's very sentimentally special, keep it. But if you use something but you don't necessarily love it, like we might not love half the utensils we have in our kitchen, but if we're using them, then that's enough reason to keep it. So if you combine those two things together and everything else is the X, get rid of it. It is a very, very simple, quick first pass. And the problem is if people don't get through that quick first pass, then it's that, oh, but I might wear that again, or I might use it again on. Auntie Flo gave it to me. So my recommendation is start with something simple. So say it's a drawer. Say it's simply your utensils drawer in the kitchen. Pull everything out, just go, what am I actually using? 2 piles, and then put it back and say, this is where this lives. So X marks a spot. So the second part of the philosophy, the LUX philosophy, is the organization. So that is like things together, used where they are, where they're stored, and X is the spot where they stay. So for example, if your kitchen tongs or your scissors are in the second drawer, that's where they're going to live from now on. So no matter, anyone in the family always knows that the scissors live in the second drawer.
That is a problem with our children. It's like kitchen scissors, which also get used as craft and everything else. So, I mean, like, actually, as I'm saying that, I'm like, there could be these are kitchen ones. They must go back into the kitchen cupboard, and they are only used in the kitchen. Kids, your little pink ones, they're craft ones. They don't go into the kitchen. They go into your cupboard.
I'm gonna zip tie the kitchen scissors to the drawer. I'm going to chain them and lock it, because they go on walkabout and never seen again. I reckon we would have purchased many scissors.
Yeah.
When we leave this house, there's going to be some sort of treasure trove of scissors just down the back of the couch or something.
Well, I get really excited when I find a pair that we haven't seen for 3 months. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's back.
I just had a look in my little I've got like all my pens that I use, and I usually put my office scissors. Yeah, and again, my scissors are not in there.
Oh dear.
So the other part to this that people get tripped up with, they think that kids are the source of all things evil, and they're too soft. So it is that case. But
You have to
kids are
train
infinite.
them.
They are trainable, and the thing is, they work. Kids actually really like tidy spaces, and they like order. So
And they
they
like
get
systems
stressed
and
when there's
routines.
clutter and things around.
Yeah.
So depending on the age of the child, a really good thing is to use pictures for the younger children or words for the older children, and have the box. So your craft box, everything goes back in. And the other thing I recommend is micro resets, and these happen during the day. So say, for example, the kids are doing craft, might be Saturday afternoon, the kids are doing craft. When that's finished, everything goes away. That's the key to it, because as things get left out, that's where things build up. And if everything to do with craft goes back in the craft box, then you'll know where to find it next time. The craft box goes back in that spot. So it's very much about muscle. So we have muscle memory, but we also have mind memory. And mind memory is about where things come from and go back to. If you've trained or if you've got an allocated spot to it, it makes the decision process so much easier. So again, it takes out all the micro decisions, and it saves you the half an hour of looking for a pair of scissors, because scissors are one of those common things that nobody can ever find where they are. And I only have a pair of craft scissors and a pair of like kitchen scissors, but they always go back, because I get pretty angry if they don't go back. Like, he's got the scissors, but usually it's like, oh yeah, I've still got them. So that's the trick to it. The X marks a spot where they live, and they go back there. So that's a really big learning one for people that are having trouble finding their scissors.
Yeah. I like it.
I think we need an X marks the spot thing for the scissors for sure.
I think so. And on the other side, like, our girls have just recently, probably in the last year, just developed a lot of pride in their bedroom in terms of like decorating it. And part of that too is like our youngest has is it a 12 cube shelf? And she's got like every little shelf is a section.
This is the same one that throws her socks on the ground.
Yeah. So she's created it. She has a lot of pride in it, and she follows it. Whereas, like, I think about in the kids' room, where if you open up that, it's just like things are smushed in there, because I created that system for them. They kind of like, I'm like, you have to do this. So as you're talking, I'm like, why is it working in her bedroom but not elsewhere? Because I actually feel like she needs to create it and have some sort of pride in
ownership
that. And we can do the scissor thing. It's like, hey, where should the scissors live? What makes sense for you?
So ownership is a huge thing. And what we've got to appreciate too is that kids change so rapidly. It was only 5 minutes ago they were in crayons on the floor and doing dress ups. And now particularly girls seem to mature a bit earlier. And all of a sudden that goes from not caring what anything looked like to being extremely proud of your bedroom and how you look yourself. So it is a change in age. And that's probably, given the age of your two children, that's probably the biggest difference. But the other thing that I think a lot of parents, they get angry and they might yell, or they might tell the kids that they have to do everything. But it actually works a lot better if you get in and help them yourself, saying, right, we've got 15 minutes, we've got half an hour, we've got 5 minutes, whatever your time frame is. Let's go through this and work out how to make this better. And the starting point for me always is, in an ideal world, or if in your wildest imagination, what would be the perfect thing for this cabinet, for this room, for this whatever? What's your dream about how this would work? Oh, well, I really want to have a area that's got my, I don't know, dolls, or this has got something or other. So often with the cubes, I love the cube storage, because they can also be theatrical, because my son's right into Lego. So some of the little holes are actually where he's got these amazing Lego creations stored, like a little diorama in one hole.
That's
and
like
then the next might it might be a box full of, I don't know, cars or something. But they are absolutely exceptional, because over time they can change, and also their heights change. So in terms of little kids, you need to have the things be height appropriate. So as kids get older, it becomes less of a thing, but particularly for small children, if it's not height appropriate or if it's difficult to do, like if it's a box with a lid that they struggle with, they're never going to put something back. So as you say, like an open box within a cube, so those purpose-made sized ones are brilliant because you can just, and it makes tidying up easier. You can just throw things into that, slide it back, and all of a sudden it looks neat and tidy. So I reckon maybe have a little conversation and do a little room makeover with her. The other thing to do is a reward system at the end. So if we were to tidy up your whole room, what would you really like? And it'll be something odd. It might be a mirror that I can dance in front of, or it'll be something that you've never thought of that is what they really want for that space.
Yeah, I love that.
Cute.
What about digital clutter? Is that something you look at, dig into?
So digital overload is massive in our society at the moment. And I've just finished doing a digital reset course just for your phone, because people don't realize that your phone is effectively your operating system these days. And that is cluttered. I mean, most people have hundreds of apps now and notifications pinging, and their home screens are a mess. They can't find photos. And
some of them are paid as well. So the credit card is just like Apple, $4.49. What is that?
What is that? What even is that? So the trigger for that.
I'm doing a little laugh at Chris. We had a conversation, like looking through all the expenses. It's like, there's a lot of like
Netflix,
Apple subscriptions. Prime. What's going on there?
I accidentally pressed the wrong button, or I said yes to an app. I got caught on one the other day that I downloaded. It was an efficiency thing for your phone. And I was like, oh, this is great. And then all of a sudden there was some fine print that said in 7 days, you'll be charged $14.99 a week. I'm like, that's a lot a week just to organize my home screen, which I could do.
Yes.
It's easy to get caught. I totally understand. Yes. But the trigger for this one was I was in a networking group of women that were doing that. They had other businesses, but they did a lot of online stuff. And we were talking about trying to get information together for social media. And we all had these chaotic, absolutely crazy camera rolls. So you want to get some B-roll footage or put something together to create something for social media. And it takes you longer to find the file that you want than to create the actual social media themselves. So the girl that we were with took us through an idea about how to reorganize your photos. And we all went away and did it and came back next week and went, oh my God, I feel so much fun. I'm so organized. I'm a boss girl because I'm just so damn organized. And so that was the start of it. And I was like, right, well, I've got as an architect, I can design some systems and processes to make it easy. So there's 5 different things that we reset in the digital reset, which gives you a very organized phone, 3 organized home screens, done in a way so that you've effectively, like when you walk into a hotel, you've got front of house and you've got your back of house and your lifestyle all intertwined. So it's based on architectural concept of how we can make our digital world reflect the calmness that we're looking for in our everyday life.
Yeah. Can you give some examples of what that looks like to change up the phone?
Oh, yeah. So apps are like our wardrobe.
Yeah.
We bring things in and in and in and in.
One day I'll use that app.
Yeah. So one of the resets that we do is going through your apps, working out what you're not using. Again, the love, use it or exit. We're probably only using a handful of apps. And again, that's getting rid of a whole bunch of clutter, because if we don't declutter first, and this is what I've found, if you organize what you've already got, all you're doing is organizing clutter. So the first step always has to be the decluttering or stripping back to what you really need and what you really use, and then you organize. A lot of people make the mistake of doing that in reverse. So they go and buy all the fancy baskets and buy all the bells and whistles, but all you're doing is you're shuffling the cups effectively. You've got to deal with the problem first. Yeah. And so it's making that decision. So again, we run it through that same filter of the love it, use it, or get rid of it, exit. And that all of a sudden we can take, I don't know, 150, 200 apps, probably down to, I mean, we're still probably using 40 to 50 apps if we've got banking apps and authenticator apps and all the like, but then that organized into 3 simple home screens where you have lifestyle, business, and then all the admin stuff, all beautifully organized. It's like the scissors. You know where you're going to find your medical benefits login or your bank login or the kids, when the kids want to play their games, that'll be in a certain section. So again, it's that same logic put to your phone.
Yeah. I think the apps, like deleting apps personally, I find that a lot easier emotionally because it's like, well, I can delete it, but also if I find that, you know what, I actually really need that, or I need it for one time a year, it's pretty easy just to download it again. As opposed to sometimes when it's like a material thing where it's like, that's such a beautiful dress that I've only worn once to an award ceremony, but I haven't worn it for 5 years.
So my filter for use is once a week or once a month.
Yeah, okay.
That's usually it. So if you're using something once a month, you're using it 12 times a year, and I think that's valid. That's enough use to keep it. But if you are using it once every 5 years, you think of the cost. If you were paying rent on the real estate that's taking up, and I always say this to commercial clients, they're like, oh, but I have to have my filing cabinet. I'm saying, okay, so that's effectively, by the time the sliding doors come out, that's effectively a square meter of space. So in the middle of Sydney, they could be paying, $3,000 a year per square meter for that. I said, is that worth it? Is that filing cabinet worth it? Or could we digitize it? Or could we do something else or have a different storage arrangement? So it always comes back to time and money.
Yeah.
So,
That's a really cool way of looking at it, like
Yeah.
attaching a cost value to it, and then also thinking about once a year, once a month. Once a month, once a week kind of thing. There's a few things that I'm thinking of that, as you've been talking, I don't need them all the time. Like I'm just picturing cables because we had a box of cables that was sitting in the kitchen, no, in the dining room kind of area, just on the edge. And I was just in the
For
middle
3
of
weeks
renovating
and then I'm like,
our office stack when we came back from holidays. We're talking on right now. Blew. There was a power surge, and so I had to like scramble for tech stuff, and having a box of crud that like just I don't need it all the time, but thank goodness I've got it so that when something like this happens, I can like call on a spare, But this sort of stuff, for me,
what's your
organizing it.
system with all the cords though? Like, how do you know which
Oh,
ones are for which? Do you
I
just know it, or do you need to put a little
no,
label on it or
I know.
something? Okay.
Well, I did at one point have like little packets for things, like, and put it all in. And I'm just like, man, this is bullcrap. This is taking forever. And now I'm just like, I do this. Where am I? Big screen. I'm like, whoosh, whoosh, lid. That works better for me, I think. But clear tub, so I know like what kind
you're
of.
not pulling them all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that out of a book, Organization Tips for ADHD or something like that, and it was and clear tubs. The reason I went and bought the clear tubs is because I'm like, yeah, I do that. I like pull things out and then I just
It's just another
forget
obstacle
to go back in there.
to
Friction.
find the thing because you don't know what box it's in.
Yeah.
So then the clear tub is easier to
be
like.
interested to
Bing.
know. So just about all the organization I recommend, other than maybe in like your kid's cube where you can put a label or a picture on it, just
Or
about
husbands.
everything. Or husband, is clear containers. So particularly in the kitchen and pantry. So food, another one I probably would like to touch on is food waste. So food waste is huge in all over the world and is totally preventable. And most of that is to do with the fact that we design these huge pantries for no good purpose whatsoever, other than to hide cans till they totally expire and rust, and and
Poison us.
we just don't need to consume that much. So clear boxes, and so this is a good one for your listeners that struggle with too many things. Whatever the size of the container is that you're using. So to give you an idea, my canned food is in about that much by that much. So it'd be 0.5 meter by 250, say. All the canned food that I store is in that. And the reason being is you just don't need 27 tins of canned tomatoes and pasta sauce and whatever, because it just sits there and goes out of date. And if you only have a contained space, anything extra is overflow. And when you've used something, then you've got to replace it. And there's also what retailers do, which is pull things forward. So as you use something, pull everything else forward so that you're rotating it through. Same thing applies in your fridge. I teach zones in fridges, and that is too about preventing food waste because you can see what you've got. So we tend to overbuy. We tend to go to the supermarket and buy exactly what we've got in the fridge, exactly what we've got in the cupboard, because we haven't got an inventory or we don't know what we've already got. So again, I always say eat from your cupboards before you go shopping. See if you can make up even some crazy meals. Great thing to do is just put into Google or ChatGPT ingredients and put 4 really random ingredients and see what recipes it comes up with. And 9 times out of 10, those 4 core ingredients will make something pretty cool that you hadn't thought of before. So eat what you've got first before you go shopping and before you buy, because in this country, thankfully, we've got programs where the supermarkets are now, things that are on the edge of being out of date are being put to good use by feeding people that can't necessarily afford to buy it. But as we go on in our economic times, that things get tighter and tighter, there's no need to panic buy tins of tomatoes that you're not going to use and will just sit in the back of the cupboard. I'm sure people have still got things in their pantry from COVID.
Yep. I mean, look, if someone wants to do like a food storage thing, I think the same system still applies though. It's kind of like, you know what, pull it from the food storage and put it into your daily stuff that or the weekly things that you eat. And if you want to replenish the food storage, it's still a rotation.
Correct.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really handy is a kid's snack box at their height. So particularly for little kids, so that it teaches them that they can go and get their own food. So you might have a bowl of fruit, for example, next to whatever else that they're snacking on. It might be muesli bars, whatever it is that they're taking, but have it at their height so that they can come and feed themselves when they need to. It teaches them independence. It teaches them resilience in terms of they know they're never going to starve because they've always got to think. And it's the same thing. You just rotate that through and work out what they like and what you deem is healthy enough for them to eat. So they're not grabbing for chips or whatever might be in the pantry that is special occasion treats that they get access to when they're not supposed to.
Yeah. I think the most helpful thing that has become a really good system for me when I come to shop food is like I am buying the same things every week. And so it's all on like my Woolworths online store. It's like, do I need more of that? Yes. Am I still going with that? No, don't get that one this week. And so like it takes little time to think about it. And also and if someone's struggling with this or struggling with meal planning, then it's like getting to know what recipes and meals that you and your family really like and just like rinse and repeat. You don't have to get fancy. You don't have to do something new every single time you make something. So that's kind of like how I shop. It's like I know that these core ingredients are going to make our 10 favorite meals. And if I want to do something a bit extra, then, you know, that's where I'll buy something different. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, I mean, that's happened over years, but it's like a system that I've followed that works, that doesn't happen overnight. But now shopping and cooking and meal planning requires probably like 5 minutes a week to purchase all the stuff and then go and pick it up.
You do it with Elsie too.
And I do it with our youngest, so which is kind of cool too because she's practicing.
The sock girl / cubicle one does the shopping. She's going through this podcast has made me think like she's funny.
She's cute. She's got a little things.
She's got some little things going.
But it's good too because when I'm ordering it online, so Elsie and I start with the freezer. It's like, what do we need in the freezer? And Elsie now knows all the things that go onto the list, and she's like, frozen peas are okay, Mum. Fridge. Oh, don't forget the kombucha because I always forget a bottle of kombucha. So it's like, thanks, Elsie. And it's just so seamless and it's lovely.
And she actually helped, like, because you work nights quite a few times, and there's been a lot of times where I can be like, hey, Els, have we got blah, 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 blah? And she's like, yep, let me check. Let me go check. And she'll just jump up and she takes ownership for it. So she's into it.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got some in the garden, Dad.
You've just embodied exactly what I've been talking about. That is point in case of the system and how it works and how that in turn is helping your whole family and setting her up really well for her future. So when she does move out of home, she'll have a system and process to follow. There's a really big issue with kids at the moment becoming adults and not having the skills, the adulting skills. And simple things like this are really great systems for kids to be able to follow in the future. My son knows his snack box. He'll be saying, oh, you need to put so-and-so on the list because I was a bit hungry the other day and I actually ate a few extra. I did a lot of swimming training, so I ate some extra snacks. So
Legend.
you better refill those because I know I'm going to be hungry again tomorrow. Okay, got it.
Yes.
But yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Build the system once, get it working, and then move on. So again, what I'd encourage your listeners to do would be look in your home for friction points. So what is causing you an issue? Is it getting in the front door? Is it having all the bags strewn everywhere and shoes everywhere and coats everywhere? Just tackle little things one step at a time and get them sorted and then move on. So it's a snowball effect. It's like compounding interest with money. You start with a little bit and keep going. And over time, it might take 2 months, it might take 6 months, it might take 12 months. But as the systems are set up and as they work, then that's one less thing you've got to worry about. And again, if your system's not quite working, then tinker with it, because your family is going to be different to my family, and what works for you might not work for me. But it's what I'm all about is making your home work for you and with you, not stress you.
Yeah, I love it.
So to take that advice, like the socks on the floor really is the friction point out of the things that we've been talking today. Like, but that's Elsie has not had.
I don't mind it too much. I think it's cute.
But that's not true, because when it comes time to clean, it's like, okay, guys. Blah,
Well,
blah, blah.
yeah.
So
Then it's
the
like
system,
time to time.
but that's our system.
Yeah.
She hasn't got the system. She hasn't had any input into that, and so guess what? Her socks are on the floor, her jumper's on the other side of the floor, and her shoes are on the other part of the floor. There's like this little Hansel and Gretel of, like, you can tell where Elsie's gone when she's come home, because it's like a little trail of clothing breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son was exactly the same. And so I said to him, look, this is stressing me out because every time you drop something, I've got to bend down and pick it up, and I've got to take it somewhere and do something with it. So what he does now, he comes home from school, works straight to the washing machine, socks go straight in the washing machine. If his shirt comes off, it goes in the washing machine. He goes and gets new. Everyone thinks it's in the washing machine. And if it doesn't quite make it because he's thrown it from a distance and it's on the floor next to the washing machine, at least it's at the washing machine.
Yeah. It's like scoop and flick in.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's
I
funny.
love it. Oh, thank you so.
Yeah.
This has been awesome. So many like practical things that people can implement straight away. Even if it's just one. Now, if someone's listening and they're feeling overwhelmed, it's like there's so many. They just choose one thing. Like what's the one thing that Heather's talked about that would just be like a really easy, quick win to start building some momentum?
Oh, and the quick takeaway for everyone, your car keys, because they seem to be a really big problem. Put them in a little basket or container somewhere near your entry and always return them to that place, because car keys seem to be one of those bugbears. Everyone goes, where's my car keys?
Always go
start
into
with your car keys and then work through from there.
I like that. They always go straight back into my my bag, and even my kids know it.
That's really funny,
So
because mine are literally just sitting right next to me on the table.
oh dear. So now you've got some gifts for our listeners. There's a free download, the Let Go filter, and then you've also gifted our listeners a discount code for the LUX Digital Reset. Can you talk about those two things?
Yep. So the Let Go filter is if they get stuck with the Lux thing and they're having trouble because something's sentimental, or it's just a really quick filter. So I've just guided you through some steps, and I've even got there's a free download there if they're really, really stuck, some scripts to help them let go, to talk to I know that's going to sound a little bit woo, but sometimes if it's really sentimental and you can thank the thing for doing what it needed to do and give it on. So the Let Go filter will talk you through the basics, and then if you're still stuck and you need the scripts, then there's those as well. So that's just to help them. So part of my LUX Home Reset course is actually another mini course called the LUX Declutter Kickstart, and that talks through all of the psychological issues, the pain points, to help people get unstuck if they really are having troubles with things. But this is just a little freebie, and nice and easy filter system to enable people to move on to the next step, because I want to just keep people moving. I don't want them to get stuck anywhere. And the digital declutter is for your phone. And so I've said $50 off that. So it's normally $97. There's $50 discount if you use the coupon code. So go through to the checkout, add the coupon code phone50, and that will give you $50 off. So I think that's a nice, easy way to start for people, because we use our phone 100 times a day, and it works in a logical progression of starting with the easy things and working through to the slightly more difficult things, finishing off with your calendar. So that is a great way to set your boundaries for what you have in your life, and to see how balanced your life is in terms of colouring your calendar, so that you can see whether you've got a nice balanced life or things are a little off kilter in one area or the other. So hopefully you've got some value out of all the things that we've gone through today. Definitely. And that your listeners can get some value as well.
Awesome. Totally. And I'll make sure those links are in the show notes, and I assume though that will take you to your website as well if people want to find out a bit more about what you and those other courses that you were mentioning.
So www.luxreset.com, nice and easy, and LUX. Just remember that, the LUX method, and it'll keep you going, get you started and keep you going.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout Assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.